When you say that I want to think big, I'm thinking big, I'm setting these big goals, my question to you is, the goal is big, the thinking is big in reference to what? In comparison to what? So it's mostly either based on how our current environment thinks or what our past has been like. So it's basically using a reference point which is less than your goal. For example, when I was thinking that I'm going to go from charging $300 to I eventually went to 1,000 and then 10,000. Now that thinking big, like, oh, I'm going to make $10,000, oh, I'm going to make 10 lakhs a month, all of that was based on looking at my current income level and then looking into the future or into a higher dimension that, oh, that's going to be my big goal. Now the problem with that is that big goal never felt approachable. It felt like it's too big and hence it's difficult to achieve and hence it's going to take more time. Now when you think big, that's exactly what you're doing to your mind. You're telling yourself that it is something outside of you, it is something bigger than you, and it is not at all in your current dimension, it's something in the future, and then you have to do a lot of work, put in a lot of efforts to get to that point. Now there is nothing wrong with that. You will eventually achieve things. That you have been achieving things anyway, right? Most of the world is living that way and creating results. But the problem with that is it's just a little slow and less fun. And why would we want to, create a business, create a life that way? Especially living in times when everything is available in abundance and accessibility to anything is at its highest. So instead of thinking big, I want you to start approaching your goals and your life in a different way, which is, how about you start normalizing what you want? Normalizing your goals, normalizing a state that you want to be in, a state of being, a state of living. What does normalizing your goals really feel like? What does that do to your mindset? So the easiest answer to that is, it just makes everything easier and more fun and more in a flow state. So the friction that you have with your goals goes down. The gap that you perceive between yourself and your goals goes down. So I'll tell you how to do that and why this works. I'll give you one perspective. Is your goal normal to somebody else? At least one person on this planet. Like for example, when I started exploring real estate, I was in full flow. And then eventually these thoughts started coming to my mind. I'm a woman, how will I be able to do this? How will I be able to hire labor and do this and do that? I have no education in this space, etc. And then I asked myself, do I know at least one woman on this planet who went from being in a different industry altogether to real estate? Yes, there are just so many. So they went through a process. That means that process is possible for me as well, right? It's not that I am inventing something absolutely miraculous and out of this world. Real estate, a woman has done before, so it's normal for that woman. If it is normal for that woman, it is easier then for me to tap into a state of normalcy for my goal. Yeah, like of course, there's so many women who've done real estate before, there's normal for me. Same way I applied that to my goal of charging $10,000 per client. Now I started studying people, I started listening to people, I started asking questions to people who were not only charging $10,000 but they had crossed that mark. So I would ask them questions in a way that their answers would change my subconscious. What did your clients respond when you told them that you're going to change your rates? Or when you got a new query, when you told your rates, how did they respond? How do you really approach your pricing? What did you add in your pricing to make it 10,000? And in fact, I would say that in my research, I got to know that people in fact reduced what they were offering in the offer instead of increasing. Because what they did was they started focusing intensely and comprehensively on a few value points that were extremely valuable to their clients. And for me, that was a completely opposite perspective, because earlier I thought I would have to exert more energy into earning more. So do you see how by exposing yourself in a state where your goal, your big goal is normal, you are fully changing the way, the lens through which you look at your goals. Now when your lens has changed, nothing is the same. You feel differently, hence you act differently. You think differently, hence you act differently. When you act differently, you create completely different results altogether. And more importantly, this life is not really about creating results. The result is produced and gone, and then you want the next thing. This life is just a accumulation of progressive process. That's it. So hence, the more you're getting yourself in a state of normalizing your goals, you flow more, and hence your quality of process and quality of your experience in the process goes up. That means you're literally making yourself happier when you are normalizing your goals. So when you think your goals to be too big, they seem fictional, and it's not fun because it increases your anxiety, it makes you overthink, and in fact slows you down. You take lesser actions, you make lesser mistakes. Instead of that, do 3 things to normalize your goals. Number 1, start tapping into that state of being which you would be in when you would have achieved that goal. Okay, start tapping into that. Now, what does that look like? For me, earning $10,000 per client looked like I would not think about what I am spending on groceries, because when I was setting that goal, I used to overthink on the cost of groceries. Even when I could afford, it still felt like, oh, this is too much. So I started tapping into that state where I'm just ordering groceries, like big stuff, like in India, in Delhi, avocados were expensive. I'm ordering avocados and whatnot, and I'm not thinking. In fact, I'm sharing it with my friends and stuff, right? I started playing with that thought. I started playing with the thought of giving a lot of cash to my household help. Now, even though I was not making enough money, I was able to afford household help so that I could focus on my creations. And I visualized that I'm giving them so much cash, not just on Diwali, but just generally. Because I'm happy, I'm giving you cash. Because I'm happy, I'm taking care of your medical bills. Now, because it was so realistic, I was able to tap into the normalcy of $10,000. It wasn't only positively impacting my life, but also the people who were working with me, right? So find ways to normalize that state by tapping into that state altogether. So it stops becoming about, oh, this is such a drastic jump that I'm going to make in my income level. Instead of that, it becomes about these specific things that will actually happen in your life when you are at that point. So it starts becoming super normal, and in fact, you start showing up in your current life as that version of yourself. So hence, second thing is start taking specific actions, taking inspiration from that state. What I mean by that is, when I started ordering my groceries after that, even though I would not like extravagantly, you get the point. I wouldn't extravagantly spend on groceries, but whenever I would order, I would not really overthink. I wouldn't even look at the prices, and I was just order, So that started telling my subconscious that we're already at that state of earning $10,000. Third, start speaking to people who are already at the stage where you want to be in, or they have in fact crossed that stage. And people do not really do this much is because they think it's an inconvenience to speak to people about this. They hesitate, they're shy. Let me tell you one thing about human behavior. We love giving. And especially when it's about wisdom, especially when it's about sharing the insights that you now have because of all your experience. So intangible sharing is juiciest, and it is really satisfying. So you are in a way doing favor to people by taking their guidance. So actively research on people who are right now living the life that you want to live, whether they are in your industry or not, and actively reach out to them on LinkedIn, YouTube. It's the easiest to access somebody in these times, right? And in fact, ask them questions which are not gonna train your mind that it's a risky business, you should not move ahead. Ask them questions that actually push you forward in your journey. You are anyway going to make mistakes. So it's better to make premature mistakes, smaller mistakes, insignificant mistakes, so that you have lesser cost, you don't bear as much cost, and you learn more, right? So whether you're doing something or not doing something, you're anyway gonna make mistakes. Why not make mistakes doing something that you want to pursue and you love and you want to grow in, right? When you ask people questions, they tell you about their stories, their process, their journey, and that helps you tap into their state that they were in when they were transitioning, they were growing, and the state that they are in now, in which it's totally normalized for them to live a life that you want to live, right? So instead of tagging your goals as I am thinking big, because that also gives you some ego boost, Start thinking in terms of, this is so normal for me, it is so normal, like literally have a normal tone with respect to your goals, and you will start seeing a major change in how you think, how you feel, and how you act, and hence your results will be absolutely different. Let me know in the comments what did you learn, and also let me know what would you want me to make the next video on, because I'm always open to more feedback. If you're somebody who wants to tap into their abundance mindset in 2025 and change the game altogether, making those riches happen, then attend this workshop. It's free for now, and it has all the answers to your questions and amazing, incredible tools and some meditations to help you reprogram your subconscious so that you can make that taller, baby.